Hey, this will be my longest video, most likely. It will be my first one I'm taking on my laptop. So don't mind, I might not know where to look all the time, but I'm going to be reading anyway. Um, would like to preface this video, preface, however you say it, with a little bit of background because I wanted to make sure that anything I uploaded was from an organic place. So I struggle between posting every day just to post and actually wanting to come through when I talk. Because I just believe anything organic uh, is better than not organic, right? We know this, just like food. Also, again, I'm going to be reading something I wrote because of something that happened in town locally. So, a local business has been not being ethical in a lot of ways, and one of them being mental health, how they take care of their employees' mental health. And I happen to have been one of the ones who, let's just say, I knew about their misuse and Me Too movement type situations. And if I get enough views on this video, I can talk about that too. But anyway, he crossed the line, I guess, and it inspired me to write this post on Facebook just because whatever reason. But the thing about it is, that was the first thing I've ever written a lot of those things down. I allowed myself to get them out of my brain because I've never said them out loud. I go back and forth between wanting people to see what I say and being happy that they're not seeing it as part of me. So I hope keep this video up. I hope I can make it through it. Um, I have a La Croix here. This is not a sponsorship, but I do love La Croix. Um, Also want to preface this with the fact that I don't drink. Uh, that'll come up in what I'm going to read, but I'll be 3 years without alcohol soon. Um, I'm lucky enough to have found a really good doctor at a young age, and I've been evaluated effectively by professionals for my mental health, and I found a great medication regimen that works for me. I'm saying this because I want to make sure that people know that this is very lucky and I'm very grateful for this. Not that I haven't had to try different things and I've had downsides to a lot of different ones, but it's just so night and day for me that I don't care. I'm just so happy that it's available and that science is real. And just hold on. If you don't like your therapist, go get another one. They work for you, especially the prices. It's like shopping. If you don't like it, bring it back. You can return it at any time. Um, it's a very complicated and special relationship. And I have found good therapists over the years, some better than others, but who I was able to get something out of the experience. But anyway, because I didn't want anyone to feel inadequate that is having a hard time finding a medicine stick or a medication regimen that sticks. Multiple medications. I have to take multiple, and makes sense because I have multiple things. I guess another disclaimer is a disclaimer. Something I want to mention that will come up in my reading in a minute, but I have have mixed bipolar disorder, and that's 10 years that was diagnosed, but I've had OCD, depression, anxiety since I was a young girl, child. Um, so I just want to make sure that makes sense to people who may not know me or the situation or anything. And I'm going to be reading from my Facebook, which I don't like to use Facebook a lot. I'm not even going to put this video on there. I have my link to my YouTube on it, but it's good for local things. But if I do make a TikTok, that will be hard for me, I think, maybe because of how short the video. I don't really know. I'll figure it out. But if I do, I will put that in my profile too. And I might post this video there. So hey TikTok, or never mind. Uh, See you later. Okay, let's see. It makes me pull it up each time. Oh, also, spay and neuter and chip your pets, please. Um, Chip, 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 chip. I know keeping collars on a lot of them is hard, so get that chip. It's like $10. Just go anywhere. They'll do it. I don't care. Just go. They'll do it. Um, okay, let me take a sip. Alexa, cancel alarm. Okay, I'm glad I didn't start. Sorry, my friend Tina started texting me. Um, okay, so I'm going to read the full post. Um, so again, what happened is an email got out about some of the owner of this local bar where there's like literally 10 more locations just in the city. Um, his behavior he's done for a long time. It's been open since 2003. Um, he's very smart and capable, and unfortunately, his opinion of being a good boss is different from what what it is to be a good boss. Like there's no black and white when it comes to that. So anyway, an email got out about how he fired a girl for crying after losing her grandmother, and the customer didn't appreciate it, even though she went to the back. I guess she should have cried in his drink. I don't know. I'm not sure. Um, but anyway, Jared berated and sent an email being very, very inhuman. Like, ow, like, stop. That's so bad. Um, or like, that's one thing, but he is not sorry. Narcissist. It's okay to have narcissistic tendencies because I definitely do, but you need to catch yourself and do better. Anyway, so emails got out. I had just went through something, a visit with my dad that meant a lot, and there was just a lot going under the surface, and then that all happened, and the whole town, so many people came forward and were just talking about their experiences of his gaslighting and taking advantage of fundraising funds and like just cheap, not being a great guy for one is one thing, but just abusing his power, and mentally, verbally, financially. He's lost two cases this year, in the past year, should I say, related to trying to take money from employees when it was really due to them. And he's been held accountable in court for both of those. Both those people won, and the judge. So there's that, and that's not really my thing to comment on anymore. Uh, but it makes me really happy because it just is what it is. So anyway, I put out a post detailing my opinions on it as well and my experience with it, and some of it, a lot of things I didn't say because I don't want things that get too convoluted. And it led me to talk about things from my past experiences that I didn't have, I didn't talk about my feelings as a child. It wasn't, it's not in my makeup. Something I had to work to get, um, and still do. And that's okay. Um, you know, trauma is a tribute to your survival. And it's surviving something that is not easily survivable. So, even with help. So, your ability to ask for help and get help is because you are doing the right thing, being positive, whatever that means for you. But I also know that it doesn't make getting asking for help any harder. It doesn't make depression any easier. I want to say that. I know that all of this is easier said than done. I'm so lucky that I stopped drinking because I firmly believe I would not be here. And our city has a huge drinking culture that I have hopes will evolve and change in the next decade or so, hopefully, because it already is. And voices on this kind of stuff are meant to be heard, because one person touched and given that boost to get through the next minute, day, hour, second, breath, activity, sleep, whatever it is. That's what matters. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking because I'm gonna run out of this. Mm. Um, okay, so hopefully I don't lose my spot. I'm gonna try to maintain eye contact as well. Sorry about this. I'm trying to get that out. Um, also don't have my glasses. That's fine. Don't mind if I squint. Um, so I wrote this on October 29th, 2022. I said I was feeling thoughtful. This was early in the morning. I wrote it with tears. There are some grammatical errors. I tried not to go back and fix too much because I was just wanted to leave it up and not over fix it or take it down or think about it more than this is a very profound experience, but overstimulating for sure in a good way. Let's see if I can do this. Let's do this. Okay. Okay. This will be a long one and a doozy. So thanks in advance to those who decide to read even some of it. Any hate you want to throw it at yourselves. I don't tolerate and will delete and block you immediately. I want to thank and praise all the survivors who have had the strength to come forward with their stories. I hope you know that you are both valued. I hope you know that you are worth believing, and all of your feelings are both very valued and important. I'm so unbelievably proud to see so many, including many people I love and care for, have this moment of vindication together. This is your moment. You are so brave, so strong, and you are valuable and loved. Again, this is a very long video ahead, most likely. Um, Trigger warning disclosure. I'll put this in the description of the video too. Mentions of suicide, workplace aggression, disability, mismanagement, finance, mismanagement and abuse, discussions of psychological, verbal, like I said, financial and emotional abuse, workplace abuse, should I say. I'm also planning on posting a YouTube video for people who don't feel mentally safe on Facebook. With more insights and content, I don't fully feel comfortable sharing directly on Facebook. So, but I'm no coward, and if anyone is a martyr, it's your girl. What Jared did to his most recent victim that we know about was psychological, emotional, and verbal abuse of his employee. He has forever tainted a memory that she has of losing someone incredibly close and important to her. Just this one instance of being inhuman and not showing grace is enough to warrant him as being called a bad business owner, a bad person, or at the very least, a good person who did a very, very bad thing. If it's the latter, then where is the remorse, the humanity? Why doesn't he fucking care and just say fucking sorry? The answer is he can't. Narcissists can't admit when they've really done something bad, and they never will. Never will be able to. Wow, what a whirlwind this weekend has been for so many, myself included. Here is my story. I will not post my receipts, but I promise you I have them. Most importantly, I think this needs to be handled with as much grace as possible. But that being said, survivors of abuse don't have to handle their personal feelings like you want them to, just to make you feel less uncomfortable with the realities that are being human. This isn't about a hairline. It's about an incredibly pervasive problem that has persisted and been perpetuated for long before Jared opened his doors in 2003. I've experienced it at many businesses I've worked at, with only a few having the knowledge, empathy, and life experiences to know how to handle the morale and mental health of their employees. It's been over a year and a half, I think, since I warned Jared about his unethical behavior. Aside from what he and his wife had done to me, again, I have receipts, but because he had the audacity to consider throwing a mental health and suicide awareness party at a bar on a bar strip downtown. This is after repeated behavior that I talked about. This is just unethical is the word for it, not smart decision to do. So Annex was the name of the bar. The anger and sadness and desperation I felt when my friends reached out and told me, because I don't use Facebook unless I have to. How can you gaslight me, promise me you will keep me safe, and convince me not to quit when I told you I wanted to because I didn't feel safe, and you said you would not put me working at nights because that's when I seem to have PTSD the worst at the time and often need to take my medicine at that time, one of them. How can you lie, go back on your word, answer none of my worried texts and emails? He scheduled me a night shift, by the way. Make me choose between my safety and my job, put others' lives at risk as well as mine, railroad me, apologize and admit that it was your fault by not keeping your word, gaslighting, fire me, let your employees, a certain mean GM who likes to get drunk and hit on his employees. You let him tell me things even though he knew that you weren't supposed to schedule me nights. Tell me things that nearly drove me to the brink when I was already at my very lowest point. I cried so hard. Because of what? Because of them. Not because I'm soft. A little soft. Okay. I blame myself completely because of the mental hold Jared and his gaslighting had on me over the previous 3 years, like with so many others over his life. But that's a whole nother story. We don't have time, but we'll see. After being fired for my episode, he hired me back a year later and all seemed to be well. Again, because I just totally blame myself for the situation despite doing everything I could have. Again, I asked for help. Um, Not to mention, he broke the Americans with Disabilities Act for sure, guidelines. Um, he hired me back a year later, and all seemed to be well until the abusive meetings and emails started again. It was eating at me, and I felt like I was failing others who might be struggling by not being able to protect my coworkers and friends, which, if you know me, is something I take very seriously in and outside of my work. Then the straw that broke the camel's back. This man actually considered throwing a mental health and suicide awareness event at a bar. It's, I put laugh out loud because it's only funny because it's so absurd and unreal someone could think this would actually be a good or possible idea. Not on my watch, Jay. Jello gunshots, anyone? It's one of the stupidest things I've encountered in my whole life, which says a lot. I bartended for about 15 years, 10 years, and then 15 in the service industry total. So that says a lot. Um, I then offered my 2 weeks and had a meeting with Jay and his wife. Um, Jay was on speakerphone. I told him if he knew how unethical he was being by even letting one post get out about this event, and that they had violated the ADA multiple times over already with their previous handling of their employees' safety again, with many receipts. He heard the word unethical and lost his shit. Excuse my French. Y'all, call a spade and they go ape shit, I guess. He tried blaming his employees and other managers and even assistant managers. I told him it's your business and responsibility. Stop opening so many businesses and concentrate on the basics. Slow the heck down or it will blow up. After realizing his tantrum wasn't going to stop, he was literally screaming like a toddler, um, or worse. Um, and realizing his tantrum wasn't going to stop and that he wasn't actually willing to listen to me, I hung up the speakerphone and slid his wife her phone back. I offered any guidance I could provide on why this wasn't right and that they would be hurting many people if they tried to go through with the event, and to please stop any promotions of any sort immediately or I would be there in protest. We don't want anyone to feel the way you do. There will be no event. After leaving their office in tears, I read that text and broke down in even more tears in my car after leaving their office. Wow, had I really just done that? A huge relief swept over me, and I continued to cry my nerves away until they were nearly all done. But wait, had I really made a breakthrough to them? Short answer is no, I had not. That was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had, and it was all in vain. Rachel was there, but Jared didn't bother to show up to hear the serious problems I had that were the main reasons I said I was finally quitting Legends. Rachel decided, his wife decided he needed to be in on the conversation pretty quickly and called him and put him on speakerphone, which I wasn't quite ready for, but whatever. I was shaking uncontrollably, and none of this was gonna be fun anyway. I was shaking uncontrollably and eventually in tears as I told them about my past and why this was so serious. I shared things I thought Jared knew some of, but soon realized he had only been pretending to listen to me all those times. I never knew when I would find the strength to say the things I'm about to and have just said. I want to thank all of you who have stood up for yourselves and your truth this weekend and ever for giving me this final push I needed, and now I feel terrified but fine. I know we are helping people, and a lot of young people as well as children struggling by speaking our truth. Mental health care and self-care is not taboo and should stop being treated as such. It's prevalent and affects the lives of not only those living with mental disabilities you can't see, but the people close to them as well. My mental health journey so far. Let's see. Again, I know this is long, but it is what it is. My mental health journey so far. I first presented with OCD at around 2 years old. That was, of course, as a guesstimate, but um, I'm confident of that for a few different reasons. But it's very normal, and it's not a bad thing unless it can be exacerbated by stress or trauma, um, which can either last or not last. But that did inevitably happen to me. But by but I had gained control of my OCD by the age of around 11. No longer did I have to touch one side of my body because the other side had touched a chair or anything else on accident. If I didn't, I wouldn't feel right or be able to concentrate. I couldn't ignore it completely, but I couldn't live with it. I had won. I still deal with this today, um, but again, I can live with it. So I'm lucky, I'm blessed, and thankful. When I was 5 years old, my father, whom is wonderful and I love deeply and has been sober ever since, was struggling with his mental health to the point that it was killing him. Then on a night I will never forget, he tried to take his own life in front of me. I watched him get his stomach pumped and took it upon myself to take care of him after that. I became his arm to cry on, his therapist, and took care of his mood swings as best I knew how. From the ages of around 5 to 10, I suffered from severe suicidal ideation. All of my dreams were different, morbid mix ups, like the Power Rangers pushing my dad off of the cliff. And that is a real example I will never forget. But what I didn't say in this post, because it's a little more gruesome, is that the Power Rangers actually cut the front of my dad's face off. And it slowly fell off and fell to the ground. And then they pushed him off the cliff. Very lucid. There you go. So, death and suicide were everyday thoughts, no matter how hard I tried to push them out. I never tried to hurt myself, but that's because the grace of God and Mother Earth and angels um, and the universe. Death and suicide were everyday thoughts, no matter how hard I tried to push them out. I cried myself to sleep every night and prayed for strength because I knew my job on this earth is to take care of my family and to save him. With that, of course, came severe chronic depression and anxiety. I remember downplaying my symptoms to my first therapist at 6 years old because I wanted to protect my dad, because I was the protector. I had to see him through this so that he could come out the other side the beautiful human Mother Earth intended and live his full potential as one of her children, valued children. The only thing I ever knew for sure I wanted to be in this life was a mom, and that's true to this day. And I wanted him with me when I became one day. He hasn't touched alcohol or pills since, and he's one of the most wonderful humans that I know, and grandfathers that I know. See. When my dad moved away when I was around 11 years old, and as I watched his car drive away, I will never forget how it felt like I was letting my breath out for the first time in my life after having always held it in without knowing it. Not because I didn't love my dad immensely and wouldn't miss him terribly, but because a part of me that was hiding suddenly wasn't hiding anymore. My brain was ready for its turn at becoming whole. Because of the trauma I had experienced and gone through as a young girl, I didn't get to attend to parts of my mind and brain that needed it. I was too consumed with helping my dad stay afloat. I suffered from a severe speech impediment until the age of around 10, where I couldn't say my first name correctly and dealt with extreme bullying. 10 or 11. I'm not, I think 10. Fifth grade. I honestly don't know how I made it through some nights. I didn't want to wake up the next day, only to take care of my dad and make sure my brother and mom were okay. I knew my leaving would only destroy everyone, and I had always known that. Thankfully, that's one of the things that saved me. So I did what's called bare knuckling my mental illnesses, a term used for when someone deals with a mental health disability on their own, which can be impossible and so dangerous. As silly as it sounds to some, silly as it might sound to some, my cat Mia kept me alive. I had her to cry to. Pets are angels sent to us from heaven to give us strength and unconditional love when we can't feel it or find it within ourselves. I struggled through my chronic illnesses during middle and high school, but made a lot of wonderful friends who helped me find joy in my everyday existence. Halfway through high school, my depression suddenly took an extreme nosedive, which said a lot for me as I had managed to live with it so long and thought I knew its darkest places I could take me. I came out on the other end of my senior year and pulled off a 3.9, which I still dispute, all with the help of therapy, my family, and honestly, above all, a good doctor and finding medicine that worked for me. It saved my life. I couldn't believe what my mind could do with a little help and realized it was okay that my brain was a little different. Because, hey, I'm a little different and kick rocks if you don't like it, because there's no arguing that. Some things can't be argued. When I was 22, I was diagnosed with mixed bipolar disorder. It's different from type 1 or type 2 in that I experienced the symptoms of both mania and depression simultaneously, constantly, and every minute of every day. It explains so much about the new struggles I was feeling that I thought I had won the battle over. Side note, another way to that I try to describe what it's like to have, but it's really hard to describe what it's to have something that you just you have, it's that someone else can't identify with. But say bipolar is like waves. I've always felt that I am multiple ripples within each wave, the waves within the wave all the time. So I can be on the more of a bigger overall manic wave, the lower wave, but there's these little ones going all the time. Ripples, 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 ripples that my brain is tending to or trying to. If that helps you, let me know. Um, or if that sounded correct to you or you identified with that, let me know because I've thought that a few times. When my bipolar disorder and other situations, mental illness situations, disability, but it's also a power. When it isn't being properly taken care of, intended to, just like your soul or your health or any kind of health that you have, taken care of and medicated if it needs it. If something is, if you don't have the amount of something in your body normally or for whatever reason, and it's affecting your ability to live a happy, fulfilled life, then you need to find whatever healthy way you can that is a fair trade-off. Um, but when my BPD isn't being properly taken care of and medicated, it's like living in three different brains also, none of which care about coexisting peacefully with the others. It affects my ability to speak, listen, and above all else, to think clearly. It's like trying to read a complicated science article or any kind of article in a room full of monkeys banging on pots and pans. Impossible. And I always pictured the monkeys from the original Jumanji here. Jumanji. Forget I said that. I want to share this with you all because the stigma of mental illness is what can make it dangerous, not the ones who suffer with it. You can't see it? Who cares? It's there, and we aren't making it up to make you feel sorry for us. I am way too proud of a person for that. I love myself and I'm able to do what I want, which is this. And I hope every one of you struggling out there remembers that there's a light at the end, and there are lights throughout this darkness that can make it worth it. I am now over 2.5 years without alcohol, going on 3 now, which nearly took my life. It would have. Medication has also helped to save me, but it doesn't cure mental illness. It can't. It only helps manage it. Even medicated drinking while on medication, binge drinking, socially drinking every day. You cannot have a proper medication regimen with that. Chemically, go argue with a doctor. I'm just letting you know. As far as as far as my objective and subjective experience goes. Um, my mental disabilities, though you can't see them, are an everyday fight I will battle for the rest of my life. But it's a fight I can feel most proud of. I'm proud of myself and all of you for sharing your truth. It is one of the hardest things to do. I see you, I hear you, and I believe you. In my final paragraph to this aggressively long video post, and sorry and thanks again to those who actually read and watched the whole thing, and listened to the whole thing, or some of it, any of it. I would like to thank two of my former bosses from somewhere I worked out prior to Legends. I didn't know how lucky I was to have such support or know how badly I needed it. One of them was always there for me even after I stopped working for them, even in ways that he doesn't know that I knew about. Um, Truly tried to take care of me as a person, as an employee. Um, he was always there for me even after I stopped working for them. And the other one pulled me outside to have an important conversation during a slow shift. He told me I wasn't alone and I needed to do whatever I could to be happy, whether that meant continuing to work for him or not. He hugged me, told me that everything I was dealing with, alcohol would just make it worse, and I knew he was right. We hugged again and exchanged I love yous like old friends. It took me years and several failed attempts to finally quit drinking, but I always held that moment with me very close. I had never felt seen like that before and unashamed of my mind and not alone all in one instance. I've kept that moment with me, and it has definitely played a part in saving me years later. I'm not naming names. These guys aren't in it for the glitz. But if you read this, thank you from the very bottom of my heart. Successful business owners don't have to be monsters to be successful. And if you can't run a business that provides a high moral environment and a livable wage, I don't think you should keep getting chances because your business isn't working. You being the only one that can profit and live off your business that uses other people to make it is not no is not a good business practice. Like free market, right? Like you not it's not 1 to 30 here. It's make everyone happy. Like whatever. Or just fire everyone. Do it yourself. Save money that way. And finally, to all of those struggling, the survivors out there. The camera's here. You make me so proud, and you are so incredibly valued by me. And us sharing this beautiful moment together means so much to me. You will never know, and I cannot thank you enough. Please reach out if you're struggling. Try to sit outside. Try to eat and drink some water. And please hold on. The universe loves you, and she wants you here at the other side of your journey. It gets better. It does. And it can. Easiness is a construct inside your head. Again, I know how hard it is. You will never know how much this moment means to me, and I cannot thank you enough. Love and as much grace as I could muster. Ruby, or Rubes. Um, I wanted to read that even months later because I used to really only express myself through writing because, I didn't feel comfortable talking. Speaking wasn't a safe place for me. I was a young girl. So I've always written in times of extreme catharsis, which I've had many, 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 many hundreds of nights of cathartic episodes. Very thankful of the writing outlet, But again, I believe in it being organic, and I wanted to read this because I have not written anything that vulnerable before. I haven't written those things down, I haven't said them. And in times when I got low or stressed out after, I would reread that and it would make me feel better because I was proud of myself and it just felt really good to do. Scary and but also felt necessary. And don't put up with any shit. Be kind and don't put up with shit, okay? um, I hope everyone out there is doing great. So I thought I'd see how it felt to now say it out loud again. And I was told that my post helped some people, or it had people message me about stuff, and I got to talk to them about stuff, and they made me realize things. And there's so many people in the world. You're not the only one, okay? Um, Chicks take scars. Love everyone.